Hello, and welcome to another That Game Company Developer Q&A. I'm Senior Community Manager Robert Wing, and today I'm joined by Visual Development Lead Yui Tanabe and Gameplay Engineer Lead Kyle Holdwick. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome. How are you doing, Rob?
It's another day working on Sky, and that's a pretty cool thing, it turns out. So I'm just glad to have you here with me today.
It's very cool.
Yes, and you.
Today, we're here to answer some of the questions you all submitted about Season of Abyss on social media using the hashtag SkyAbyss. So, I feel like we're going to do a lot of these puns, but shall we dive in?
Sounds good.
We shall.
Question number one. What was the most difficult part of preparing for this season? Was it the story, the spirits, the scary dark dragons? I know you both kind of have different perspectives here. So, Yui, we want to go ahead and start with you.
Cool. Yeah, I have to say, every season is challenging, but I have to say the most challenging part about this season was that we decided to make a season to take place underwater. So making environments for underwater was definitely challenging, and I have to say most of the heavy load of work lied on the engineering side. So I defer to Kyle on commenting about that. But from the arts perspective, art and design had to basically work with new features that were in development. So we had to work along with features that weren't there yet, and we had to kind of try and error for multiple times. For every step of the way, we had to try and then make mistakes and then try again. And then that was challenging, but at the same time, every time when something got updated, when something gets submitted by the engineers, it was like really exciting because everything changed completely, or some like new amazing feature that gets thrown in, and everything's all of a sudden start to look amazing. So that was super exciting. And shout out for our lead designer Travis, who's been working really hard to under our restricted environment where we don't have enough features to support the underwater graphics yet. He worked really hard making blackout spaces to help us make help us nail the emotion for each key moment.
Well, Kyle, what's it like from the engineering perspective?
Well, for this season, it was a bit different than how we typically approach it, in that we kind of wanted to do a little bit of like take a slight break, a little vacation-y type season that focused on our passions, which was really cool from a team perspective. And when we were working on it, funny enough, when you're working on something you're passionate about, typically you work even harder. So that was kind of what we ended up doing. But I think like the coolest part of it was when we were first talking about it at the start of the season, was just what are our passions? What do we want to go after? If we could do anything as a team, what were the things? And we found a lot of shared interest in just underwater swimming and doing things on the water, surfing, fishing, whatever. And it was like, wow, we have a lot of passion here. I feel like we should just go after this, right? And so that was what led us to deciding to do underwater this season, and I think that was some really fun conversations at the start. So we kind of decided to focus on that, and once we figured that out, it was just a huge difficult challenge for us, like Yui was saying, from all disciplines, art, design, engineering. It was like we were all trying to do something a little different than normal, a little new, and it was really exciting. From a gameplay perspective, we worked on obviously a new breath mechanic, and that was totally new to the world of Sky. We had, the wing energy in the past, but when you go underwater, we wanted it to be a little more fair for our players, so we decided to do something a little different, and that was the breath mechanic. And that took a lot of iteration to get that right. We talked a lot about how much breath do we want to give the players, right? Like, we want to have a little tension there, but we also want to have that kind of freedom feeling and the exploring feeling. So it took some iterations to get that, and I feel like we hit a pretty good compromise there at the end, so I was happy with that. And then obviously the swimming itself, right? That was such a big new mechanic for us. I've talked about this a little bit, but it's the biggest mechanic we've added to Sky since flying. And obviously, Sky's a big, flying is a big thing in Sky. So I think that was fun for us as a gameplay team to work on that. And, it was a ton of new animations. We had a bunch of control iterations that we went through. We tried a lot of things. We play tested a number of them in the team, and we kind of ultimately found one that we're happy with. I want to give a shout out to Maxwell, who's another gameplay engineer here at TGC. He was working just so hard to get this right, and really proud of him and his efforts there. I think it came out great. So then once we kind of had like the breath, the swimming, we had this underwater stuff going, we had to build a whole new world right down there. It was a whole new type of atmosphere than we've ever done before. And that was like such a cool thing. We got to work really closely with the art team on, what are the underwater visuals? We had graphics engineers working on new effects like caustics, those kind of nice little effects on the bottom of the ocean. We had, when you look up at the surface from underwater, we have kind of the sun sort of like beaming down so you know where that surface is. So there was a lot of little challenges there that we had new tech to build. So that was cool. We also just had to fill it with stuff, right? Like, what's the life down there, So we have some new shrooms that are kind of underwater, these floaty shroom that give you breath. We have new fish. We built a whole new, system for our fish and rendering. We want to render all these fish. And so that was really fun working on that and, giving them some life down there. We added those clams, that you can go find. So there's a lot of new things in it. I really feel like I said, we kind of went after our passions and we went all out a little bit, which was just a ton of fun to work on. Super proud of the team. I think everybody did a great job with it. And we hope that you're diving in and enjoying it.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to say from, just watching the season being made, you mentioned, Kyle, all the iteration. I remember stages ago when this season just looked totally different, right? When I saw like kind of the big underwater area before all the stuff was put into it and just how night and day different it looks now. So you all knocked it out of the park to bringing it to what it is today. So question number 2, how did TGC come up with the spirits this season? Is there a story behind them being scavengers?
So we did explore a lot, coming up with each spirits, like any other season. But like Kyle was saying, our initial inspiration, comes from our desire for underwater ocean theme. So we were thinking about people who belong around the ocean, and pirates came up as one of our inspirations, and pirates has become, one of our favorite inspiration for the spirits. So we did some research and tried to think of a group of people that resembles pirates, that are more grounded, that fits to sky culture more. And then eventually we came to Nordic culture, and the reason behind it is because they lived in a tough environment, tough, cold northern environment, and they are survivors, and they were excellent sailors. They explored the Scandinavians and Scandinavian Ocean and beyond, and I also liked how rich and diverse their culture was. So that became a nice inspiration to kick us push a little further than typical pirates. So kind of did a hybrid between pirates and Nordic common people, sailors. And so with the mix of inspiration from pirates and Nordic, we came to design this group of crews, adventuring treasure hunters are who they are. And since they are spirits from the Golden Wasteland, they are survivors as well, and they survive the harsh environment by scavenging the ruins of the wasteland, and they hail from the desolate Golden Wasteland realm. And they're rough and tumble, resourceful and greedier, a bit a slightly different flavor than our usual spirits, and that was fun to design. And they had to learn how to make do with what they had, and with each crewmates specialized in their own skills, in each of their different ways. I hope you guys enjoy discovering them.
Yeah, it's interesting as we do these different seasons, right? And they take place in different parts of Sky, where we get to meet these people from the different realms and kind of learn a little bit more about what it would be like to live there. I think the scavengers in specific, they stuck out to me as I was first getting to know them. It's like, oh, wow. Yeah, Golden Wasteland must be, a pretty difficult and kind of tricky place to live in. And as you said, it's kind of reflected in what their priorities are, the way they spend their time, right? They're not just sitting around playing games with each other. They're out there trying to find resources and make a go of it. So it's always fascinating to see, as you all kind of create these different seasons, how these groups of spirits end up, ultimately looking. Treat for me at least. So I hope the rest of the fans are enjoying them as well. In Season of Abyss, we see some creatures underwater that we often see flying. Did any of them originate from the water? Did they learn to swim at some point? Yui, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting question. If you looked carefully at the season of Sanctuary, some of you might have noticed mantas and whales coming out of the ocean. So we can't really tell in details about the lore behind this, but we can confirm at least that these flying creatures emerged out of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thank you for the confirmation on that. I know the introduction of underwater space really threw the lore community into kind of how does water work in Sky? Do certain things come from water? So it's cool to get some background on that. Next question. What motivated TGC to focus more on dark ocean depths this season as opposed to cheerful shallows or bright reefs? Yui, I feel like I'm throwing a bunch of questions your way, but do you want to go ahead and take this one as well? And then we'll get
Sure.
to Kyle.
Yeah. So our motivation, well, first of all, Sky, we're hoping to keep Sky as a place with a place for a wide range of people, with people with different emotional states. So we do want to make spaces, we don't always want to make spaces that are happy and cheerful, because sometimes you'll be in a mood where you want to be in a more melancholic, rainy place, or sometimes you're in a mood for sad movies, or so for this season, because we had a season of Flight, which was about bright, cheerful, light, open, free feeling of season. So we wanted to contrast that and try to look for different types of emotion for the following season. And so our original inspiration for this season was a monster movie mixed with some hint of adventure, which is a slightly or completely different feeling from our previous season of Flight. That was our inspiration, and we wanted to tackle that. We are aware of some desires for underwater not being like so dark and ominous, but so we try to introduce bright and happy area, cheerful underwater experience, and try to mix that with our monster movie adventure theme. And I hope you guys enjoyed both aspects of the season.
Yeah, the first time you get into that underwater space, you're like, oh, things seem like pretty cheerful, and there's like nice shallows and everything. And for sure, it kind of, as you go deeper, it changes tonally. I appreciate that there's kind of a mix of both this season. Kyle, would love to hear kind of your perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's funny is we kind of had to ask ourselves similar questions, like what would lie below the surface? What is some of the lore down there too? And that's what's so cool with working on Sky, working on a game like this, is you get to kind of ask yourself those questions sometimes. And we were trying to mix it up, we wanted to do something a little bit different. I think, as Yui said, we all have a lot of emotions, and where the bright, happy, everything's wonderful. Sometimes it's great, and that's what we all need. But sometimes there's a little bit different emotion you want to feel as a player, and I think as a person. And I think that was something that was inspirational for us developing it this time around. And I think, with Sky, we have kind of a light and dark world already. With the ocean, one thing that's really cool about it is as you're swimming down, it does kind of get darker. So as you said, we actually do have some bright shallows that you can stick to if you're not into that monster movie feeling like Yui was saying. But really, I think, we want to encourage everybody to take that step, dive a little bit deeper, not just in this season, but in your passions in life, So yeah, that's what I'd say.
I feel like, Kyle, you're beating me on the dive related pun count, but I learned when we were doing the shared spaces video never to challenge you. Just don't even suit up. Like, I hope people understand that shared spaces video was edited. If you go back and watch it, the number of puns made by Kyle is not the full number of puns made by Kyle. Kyle can pun much harder.
I am a practitioner of puns.
Yeah, you're the strongest pun practitioner I know of at the studio.
Well, it's so pun, it's just so pun.
All right, we got to move this along. We got to go. Final question. Is TGC planning to add more underwater areas in the future? Just to mix it up, Kyle, why don't we start with you this time?
Yeah, I mean, we're super excited about the underwater and just trying to expand the world of Sky through really every update that we release. And I think I will say that we are absolutely looking at all of the water currently in the world, and I think we'll probably be sprinkling a little bit of things under the water in certain areas as we go. I can't promise that we're going to have every different underwater area immediately filled, but I think over time we'll be working on filling them.
Cool, Yui. Any thoughts on this one?
No, yeah, Kyle said it. I think the short answer is we should, and and we want to. So look forward to seeing more down under the water.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to communicate, right? When we put things into the game, right, everything we add does have a cost. So at the end of the day, it's always kind of balancing priorities and what new stuff are we working on? What kind of things can we add in other places? Certainly once you introduce the underwater and swimming, it does become a little bit easier to kind of, as Kyle said, sprinkle some of those things in. But there is a time cost associated with that. So I think it's always a bit of a balancing act. But that's going to go ahead and do it for our questions today. If you saw the developer Q&A at the end of the year last year, that ended up turning into a 30-minute video. So, I think most people would prefer something a little shorter. So we'll go ahead and cap it at 5 today. Before we close out, I do want to mention, we've seen a lot of feedback on social media about the spirit reveals. Those were done prior to Season of Flight. Last season, we introduced the full cast and characters, and we know that was very dear to players' hearts. We've seen some people going, hey, where are they? Depending upon when this video actually is finally released, you may start already seeing them, but we are planning to release them during the season. Going forward, we're going to return to a cadence of trying to release them before the season, bandwidth allowing for, so that you all can get to know the spirits before you dive into the season. Before we close out, Kyle, Yui, anything you'd like to say to our players?
Yeah, I just want to say huge thanks to everybody, continuing to support us and play our game. You guys are our inspiration, really. We're doing everything we can to make the best experience we can for everybody. And I think it's just so much fun to read all the feedback and continue to build this game for everyone. So yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, same here. Pretty much repeating what Kyle said, but I don't think the game exists without you guys. So it's just thanks, and thanks for being such a fun players to make game for. And that's how we're striving every day. So thank you, and hopefully we can make the game even better and more fun and more more of a place for you to belong in. And so look forward to what we come up with in future, and please keep being awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you both so much, and thank you all for watching this Q&A. We'll be back in the future with giving more updates on how Season of Abyss was made and what's coming up in the future. So again, thank you for joining, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.